Welcome to episode 302 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode, I chat influencers, content and gaming with Queen's Gaming Collective's Justin Giangrande.
Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now here's your host who's spending too much time in Discord, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, I am spending too much time in Discord. For those of you who don't know, that's effectively Slack for gamers. And I find I'm using it more and more the more I'm getting involved in all things gaming with Gravitas and now Play Media. My name is Sean Callanan, if you don't know. Welcome to the podcast. You can find me on all social media channels at Sean Callanan on most platforms. You can find the podcast on all good podcasting platforms. You can find it at Sports Geek HQ. That's where you can find all the episodes. And that's where you can also sign up for Sports Geek News. If you haven't signed up for Sports Geek News, that comes out on a weekly basis. It's where I share all the different articles that I've been reading that are of interest. I try to at least make sure there's one or two that you haven't read that you should read. That's my goal every time. 8 to 10-ish articles get shared, as well as the latest episodes. So please go to sportsgeekhq.com/SGN to sign up. If you do get it, please forward it on to a colleague. I'd really appreciate it. One of the things I am appreciative of this weekend, I was lucky enough to attend a game of sport with 78,000 people in attendance. Lucky enough to do that here in Melbourne at the MCG for Anzac Day, which for those of you who are overseas is our Veterans Day here in Australia, where we pay our respects to past and present servicemen and those who are in the service. Collingwood and Essendon regularly partake on the Anzac Day game. It wasn't the result I wanted, but after 2020, I'm not complaining because I'm just grateful to be able to go to the footy with my son, with my brother, have a few beers, have a few laughs, yell at things that I shouldn't yell at, and just have some general fun. So great to see the crowds both increasing and returning to games, and I hope that happens in your part of the world as vaccine rollout and the like happens. Before I jump into this conversation with Justin from the Network Advisory and Queen's Gaming Collective, as always, I want to help you drive more revenue from digital. Digital is in a sharper focus from 2020 and it's going to continue to do so. So if there's a way that I can help you, whether it's applying the digital dollars process, whether it's helping you develop more content, helping you pitch to your sponsors, whether it's a sponsor workshop, how you can drive membership campaigns and redevelop your membership campaigns. Maybe they don't have as much ticketing elements in the future. Please get in touch. Sean at sportsgeekhq.com is my email. That's the way you can get in touch with me. I love working with podcast listeners. Before I jump into the chat today, don't forget you can support this podcast and our sports business content efforts by being a Patreon subscriber. You can go to sportsgeekhq.com. I really do appreciate everyone who does come on board as a Patreon subscriber. Thank you. It helps pay for the cost of this podcast, my podcast editors, my voiceover, and everything, and the podcasting bills as they mount up as we continue to get more and more listeners. So thank you very much. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon to sign up. Now, here is my chat with Justin Giangrande from the Network Advisory and Queen's Gaming Collective. Very happy to welcome the CEO of the Network Advisory and co-founder and chairman of the Queen's Gaming Collective, Justin Giangrande. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Excited to be on.
Yes. So as I always do in asking people, how did you get your, first entry or foray into the world of sports?
Well, my first, foray into sports was right place, right time. I always knew I wanted to go to a big football or basketball school, and I ended up going to University of Florida 2002 to 2006. And the 2005 basketball and 2006 football season, only time in college sports history where teams won both the basketball and football I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Tim Tebow and be really close, get to know him, and built a relationship with him, which ended up keeping me there after I graduated, and I built some businesses. But that was my first experience of watching what an escalation or building a brand or career could really be. I was just really excited to be a part of it. We won another football national championship, another basketball. You can imagine we went 18 months without losing a national championship. So once I got that bug for being in sports, I was not leaving. And I ultimately moved out to LA and got into the agency business.
So you've been in the agency business. How has that business changed, sort of working with athletes and then I guess that wider community from those early days for you and what that represented to sort of what it is starting to become now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I first started, it was very traditional of, 2009, I ended up working for a place called Priority Sports. And, they were a full service NFL agency and basketball agency, but it was definitely more focused on the on field, right? And the actual contract. To see where we are, 12 years later, there's just as much importance, maybe even more, is put on off the field because the dollars are there. So, 2009.
So that was early. That was like pre-social. There wasn't, Shaq was just getting on Twitter. So there were athletes were starting to build digital brands. You've been in that agency side for that whole piece. How has that been from trying to figure out those platforms, trying to figure out how, what athletes are doing? Probably seen a few athletes make a few mistakes on social media, but they've started to grow these audiences that have become powerful, and you've seen that money move from, you're a great on field performer and we'll put you in a TVC to you're doing great things on digital. You've sort of been on that side from an athlete and agency point of view.
Yeah, listen, it's crazy to see the impact of social and digital.
Yep.
2009, it didn't exist. Endorsement deals were done of guys going to take photos and then being placed on billboards and being, in-person signings, to now almost every endorsement deal is about what content am I creating and how big is your social reach, which is super interesting. I had another company I created called The Inclusive, and that was before I became a partner at Vayner Sports. And at that time, it was building digital and branding for athletes. 2011, 2010, Johnny Manziel was the hottest thing since sliced bread, and LeBron, and they split their marketing from their agency. And that was crazy for people to do that at that time. And now we know it's common, right? Talent has their marketing person, their digital person, their brand person, and the truth is athletes are those brands. So, I really feel like I've watched the evolution of these talents' careers, and it's really intriguing.
Yeah, and so you mentioned there you were working at Vayner Sports, Gary Vaynerchuk's sports division, and sort of being in that space, helping athletes build up their athletes, media platforms, and we've seen the rise of athletes' voice and the like, where athletes are taking back and being their own media channels. What was it like working with Gary and building out what they were doing at Vayner Sports?
Yeah, man, that was a great experience. I had always ran my own businesses, and, I got to meet Gary and his brother, AJ. Gary's amazing, but his brother, AJ, who's the CEO, is, just as impressive, even for his age. He's, a very good yin to Gary's yang, but it was amazing, man. We built the sports agency starting from 1.5 clients, and when I left, we had 40 NFL players. The take was we wanted to be more entrepreneurial, and also obviously off the heels of Gary, teaching talent how to build brands. What was special is, being candid, Gary and AJ didn't really need the money. They were more in for it for actually changing the industry. And it was great. I also got to see how they built a big agency of VaynerMedia on the media side, and I've learned so much. A lot of the stuff I've definitely implemented into the way we run the network advisory. And so, it's always great to get differing points of view. I love being the CEO and running my own shop, but it was really great for a couple of years to go learn and watch. What people always ask me, number one question, is Gary work as hard as he seems like he does? I said every bit of it. And his brother too, AJ, AJ's actually on the advisory board of my company, the Network Advisory.
So the Network Advisory you're talking about now, that is your company now. What's the goal of the Network Advisory for this, new brand of athlete?
Yeah, man. The network advisory is really interesting. When I kind of took a look back of all the talent I've represented, man, I've even represented some housewives of Beverly Hills in my early days. But I really realized that like talent now is such an interesting word. People ask us, what kind of talent do we sign at the network advisory? I say, I'm very simple. We sign talent that matters. So, I don't put any parameters on what that means. I mean, we have everyone from a gamer and content creator, Aiden Ross, who's probably one of the hottest things, was an NBA 2K gamer and now really became almost like the Gen Z David Letterman. He's actually doing a podcast with Gary Vee and was just on Portnoy, to working with Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, I feel so blessed to work with Juju. I think he's an all-time talent from a marketing perspective. Guy knows how to build a brand. He makes my job really easy. We did a Zoom with WWE earlier today, and they were just so smitten by what he's done and how he just gets it. So, I have a 14-year-old tennis player, Callie Miner, who just did a collaboration with K-Swiss for their Dreamers and Doers campaign with Baron Davis. So at the network advisory side, it's really finding talent that just matters. We're not a mass quantity shop. It's like really having like boutique clients that kind of fill these different pockets. I've really developed a lot of brand relationships in my time, and I really like having a couple key clients in each area so that we can find unique opportunities. We also have a production arm called the Network Studios, which I have a partner named Brian Scher. He's long steeped in the representation business. He was Denzel Washington's agents and Richard Gere, and then built this entire lane of representing hip hop talent. But our point is we built this production arm as well. So we're able to actually content is king, as we all know. Yep. So we're actually able to, Little Yachty has a concept. We're able to put in a development and creative team to build a concept and then go take it to market. And that's been really exciting as well, is understanding that content is really important. So, just our goal is to ever evolve with where it's going. I mean, you better believe we're on the NFT game. You better believe we're thinking about crypto. All these different platforms. I always tell our team we want to stay ahead and always be pushing to be like, where is next? And I think having a youthful representation, so, Aiden's Gen Z and to, really playing heavily in the gaming space has really lensed us to understand what platforms are coming next.
Yep. And that's the thing, like earlier said, like those early agencies, the traditional sports agencies that repped athletes, eventually, like you said, with LeBron and Johnny Manziel, split off to a marketing agency. And so is that what network advisory is, to be that next gen, next version, and not to be, and to be always looking at offering those services to your clients and being content or different new tech?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a management company and a brand building. I mean, that's the way in our talent vertical. I think it's funny, when you really learn what management is, management at this point in era, in time is really to be thinking about your talent's brand 360. So content, endorsements, ventures they need to be getting into, content they need to be creating, where they need to be showing up, what events, and really, my expertise, even when I was at Vayner, was doing marketing and endorsements. And, what I love is being alongside as the management is you're tied to almost every area of their business. And it's really important for you to prioritize what's important. And so, network advisory is really to work with influencers and talent that matter, that are cutting edge, and that want to kind of be always the next iteration of what's coming.
And how do you help match up the brands that are coming to your talent and make sure it has that authenticity? Is it talent and creator or athlete led, saying, I really love this product, I want to get more involved in this product? Or is it also brands being really attracted to a brand, to an athlete brand or what they've developed, or a bit of a mix of both? How do you get that balance right? Because when it's mismatched, it just doesn't work, and it's very easy to spot it online.
I mean, honestly, it's getting to know your clients in the upfront. I mean, some of our clients we've had for years, some of the clients are newer, but I really think you wrapping a team around them and really getting to know them and just spending time. And, we have an onboarding questionnaire and they answer those questions. But one of my favorite questions to ask is any type of talent is, if you were to build your brand 10 years from now, who is the gold standard if you gave me 3? And then, by the way, if you gave me 3 people who are not who you would line up with, tell me who those are. Because that usually gives you a pretty good parameter of, Are they a Peloton guy or are they a Puma guy? Like all of those things, right? Are you Russell Wilson or are you Odell Beckham, right? Are you LeBron James or are you Michael Redd? Like all of those things, like trying to really wrap your head around that. As far as brands, luckily that a lot of the talent we work with, you know, a lot of the companies like to pick up your phone call. You know, when you're pushing smaller talent, it's not as easy. When you're working with a guy like Little Yachty, it's pretty easy. They pick up the phone. You know, we just did a deal with Discord, big deal that went down today. They used Little Yachty to be the face of their new Easy server for April Fools. And so if you log into Discord today, Little Yachty is the sound. Very proud. My partner Pete Basjan and Brian Scherer, we did that deal in collaboration with Quality Control, who's Yachty's record label. But you know, to us, you know, we talked to Discord. They said, look, and we're looking for a musical talent who's cross-generation. And I said, listen, Yachty is that guy. And, you know, yes, you know, it was a great deal, but it's also like, what does that do for his brand, right? Now that you've seen him in Discord and we know how big that is, like now he's, you know, you're going to see – I'm proud because that shows him just continuing to evolve with what the platforms are. Like you want to be cutting edge, understand where – is society going, right? And gaming is one of those big aspects. You know, we keep saying gaming, but really Twitch, Discord, all these platforms are really just always on content. All of it. It's just, if you're entertaining, you're entertaining, right? So, and teaching talent that, you know, there's so many major celebrities who think Twitch is, I'm sitting here competing with each other. I mean, no, you know, it's all about the entertainment value. And that's been a really big pleasure of really having the trust of our talent and really teaching them that we're really focusing on bringing high-end talent and celebrities and almost, you know, helping them integrate into the space and understand how much money there really is. You know, it's pretty interesting. You share an article about Travis Scott making $20 million from one event and everyone really pays attention real quick, right? Yeah. So especially once they understand that, just be you, you know, go play a game that you like. You know, biggest channel on Twitch is what? Just chatting. We all know this. So anyway, I went on a rant, but I'm really convinced that these gaming platforms are not just really even gaming. They're really just always on content.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Twitch is pivoting to being more than just gaming, and it is looking for different content. So you're right, just chatting is. But it's also the misconception when people go, they see streamers who are doing killer jobs and they're streaming every night and they're really, you know, embracing that Twitch grind. When you bring a celebrity in, they don't have to do that. It's more they'll do it when they want to do it. They want to show their personality, and it's more scheduled. It's not the same of every Friday night I'm going to tune in and see a big celebrity. But when they do it, you know, you want to be able to bring them in and have them understand that platform. And that's the education piece as much for your talent, but also for the viewers and the consumers on those platforms, because the way Twitch, you know, has been or was, is still going to continue to evolve, and it's going to be shaped by the talent and the creators. And so that's where I think the really interesting piece is as new players come into the gaming space, which does lead us into the Queen's Gaming Collective, which is something that you co-founded. What is? You want to tell us a little bit about Queen's Gaming Collective and why it started?
Yeah, man, absolutely. You know, everything kind of happens for a reason, and you know, in February this past year, I was so fortunate to work with Juju and Little Yachty and you know, guys that are in the gaming space organically. And you know, I saw this article that said 46% of the gaming audience is women. And being here in LA, you understand how big, let's call it lifestyle organizations like 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan have become from a brand perspective, not necessarily even the competition, but like culture, right? You go out and you see. So I did more research. You know, there was a lot of, you know, gross stuff kind of going on in the way women are treated, under-resourced, women trying to hide themselves as avatar because people were treating them so poorly. But then when you sit there and thought 46% of the audience is women, and in my head, it's like, all right, women are better content creators than men. They drive purchasing habits. And I knew that there was going to be a huge shift of brands understanding that whether they wanted to be in gaming or not, they were going to start spending there. Why? It's a $172 billion industry with direct access for eyeballs. And so I had to look at myself and said, you know, are you about to be a guy who co-founds a company that is a women gaming collective? And actually, the funny answer to that question was not only a resounding yes, but also realizing that it's kind of men's chance to step up to the plate. And it's not just women for women. It's, you know, everyone for women and giving them what the justice they deserve. My executive team is some of the most unbelievable, women themselves. So our roster is made up of 20 women of all shapes and sizes, everyone from endemic gamers to women who are crossover, which means they're big in one lane, maybe a big musician, but they really were a gamer, but they didn't have the proper resources, to celebrities. We just added Ali Long, who's the U.S. women's national team soccer player. We added a woman, Lisa Freestyle, who's a huge European. But what's been really special is watching our executive team. My partner, Lisa Jacobs, who's co-founder, came from Diageo, to Taylor Heitzig Rhodes, who came from Headspace and then was one of the biggest gaming agents. And just watching these women really step into and building something special. We're so fortunate. Bitcraft, number one VC in gaming, invested, to CEO of, former CFO of Adidas, and president of CAP United States. And we just got this resounding support of right time, right place. And we've really been off really to a fast start here. We just did campaigns with DoorDash. We just did something with Nintendo. And it's been really fun. And although we don't have a competitive side, like you're not going to see Queens enter our arena, as you know, we're reaching so many people because of the always on content. We just added a new chief content officer. We have ongoing content on Twitch. We're about to be launching our TikTok in gaming. And, it's all about content and just in general. And so as far as, what it means to me, it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my career. I know I'm always going to be a serial entrepreneur, but to build a business that has this kind of upside, but is doing so much good, putting, money in women's pockets. All the women are stakeholders in the business and actually have equity. So they're like growing the organization within. And
is the collective, like the team vibe of, the rising tides lift all boats, having all of the different streamers and content creators both doing their own content on their own channels, but then also like either rating other people's channels or promoting other people's events and things happening? Is that the thing that's sort of making like everyone rise and lifting the whole collective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as opposed to other organizations, ours got put together where they all joined at the same time because we literally curated each of them for their individuality. So, we have Bunny, who's, I'd say she's the Cardi B of gaming, to Black Crystal, who's an unbelievable anime, to Kira Please, who is as well. And they all have their different flavor and styles, and they really support each other. So, yes, if you go to our Twitch, Queens GG, you can see always on content, but then you can also go see it at Black Crystals, or you go see it at Made of Mites, or you go see it as it's been really special. And then actually, we're not only the places you'd expect us to see content, we're about to announce a really big major media partnership where we're actually going to be creating produced content too, like unscripted, scripted series on YouTube. The business of gaming, there's so much intrigue into what does that mean, how we're building this thing, what are the brands that are getting into the space. Just there's so much intrigue behind the scenes of what we're actually doing. That's an area I didn't necessarily think that was going to be, what it is, but we're excited for it. And, our goal is to can grow the brand and can continue to create IP. We're talking about putting out a Roblox video game. So seeing the brand of Queens show up different places, and my goal is for it to be one of the biggest media companies of this decade.
Yeah, it's very similar. I had the chat with Brett Clark from Thrill One, and they've done the same, built out from the Nitro Circus events, doing the stuff with Rob Verdick and Ridiculousness and the whole media company. Like when you've got those great creators together, like getting them together and producing things for, IG Reels or short form YouTube or like, obviously TikTok, you've got a lot of power there. Like it will be then drawn back to the Netflixes and the Hulus and that of the world that'll be saying, hey, we want to have some of that stuff in long form. So that definitely is something when you get, smart creative people together, like that's a natural progression.
Oh man, it's interesting too. The thing is, I'll say this on the record, we built that company through a pandemic. So I hired people that, of course, I feel like I know them because we spoke every day. But the thing that bonded us is every single day at 10 a.m., every single day for like 150 days, we had a team call. And it was talk about building a startup in the pandemic. Like we literally like built the thing through pandemic. And one of the most interesting experiences that, we captured a lot of that. And I think it's something I'll never forget. just understanding this weird time that we grew. But as you know, in this weird pandemic, a lot of opportunity was also found at the same. And I'm fortunate that we were able to put that into Queens.
Yep. And the thing is, like, if there wasn't, like, if you want to look at the bright side of a pandemic, like, it wouldn't have happened in that way and organically, and having those, if there wasn't a lockdown and everyone was separated and we're all on these platforms, it probably wouldn't have happened as quickly and as, and got everyone together so quickly if there wasn't the circumstances around the pandemic.
There were periods of time, man, it seems crazy to say this out loud. There were periods of time when we were looking for investors in March. It was like, we're just going to wait till we all meet in person. We're not writing any checks. And then I know everyone jokes like, pandemic 1.0, 2.0, but like, if you remember, like, social habits were not the same. So it was super intriguing to watch the shift of that. But yeah, actually, candidly, it would have taken much longer to do this if the pandemic hadn't happened, because everyone got so used to finally just making decisions based on Zoom and interacting. And we all just got so much more efficient. It's like, do I really need to fly to New York to meet you to make a decision? Like, man, I've gotten to know you. And so, man, we were able to, the diversity of the company was because we were able to pull from everywhere. New York, Austin, LA, tech, like you name it, nothing was off limits. And I think anything we've all learned in the pandemic is like, be agile, be nimble, learn to evolve, learn to adapt. And our group at Queens has done just that. Did I ever think I was going to be the chairman of a all-women gaming collective? No. But, that's what we've learned in the pandemic, is that you can find opportunity. And I couldn't be prouder to be that chairman.
Yeah, I mean, gamers are built for it. Like, gamers have been on Discord and interacting this way for many years, so they're very much ready for it. And for the most of them, they're not getting out and about too often. So being locked in at home and powering away on your computer is a game of life. I did want to talk a little bit about some of the partnerships you've done with Queen's Collective. You mentioned it briefly, Nintendo. You did something with ColourPop in the Animal Crossing. How did you guys tackle that, and how was it different from say another gaming talent agency? How did you guys do it a little bit differently?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we look at ourselves as a media company. Inside that media company, you have to have a couple things. People keep saying, you're a talent agency. Well, the interesting thing is the only way to build the brand and build a media platform was to consolidate and have all these amazing women to come together, because brands didn't know how to reach that audience. And so the difference of Queens is, our team, kudos to our chief content officer, to Christina Chu, our head of business development. Internally, ColourPop and Nintendo came to us, and we actually put the entire campaign together. Not only put our talent in it, but all the assets you saw. So Danielle Grubenberger, who came from Vogue and she was a closet gamer, helped put the assets together. We ran it from A to Z, including the Discord, all the social assets. So for ColourPop, it was amazing, right? They want to be in the gaming space. They know we have the right demo. They come to us. We put a creative concept together, and then we go ahead and execute it, which that's not very many organizations. I'm being candid. I'm not going to name them. I don't know any other organizations out there that are kind of acting like that. Most groups are just giving you their talent, if that makes sense.
No, it does. The execution piece is where it falls over. Like, they go get the great talented streamers and say, we want to do something. And an agency that doesn't quite yet know the gaming space and how it works and the different channels and what Discord is. And it only takes a slight misexecution for it to, House of Cards style fall apart. So being able to, leverage the skill set of your talent that know how to run a stream, know how to engage an audience, know how to direct them, and deliver the whole piece, I think that's a vital piece. And I think, more brands will be looking for that over the next 12 to 18 months as more of them get into the world of gaming.
100%, man. They want an end-to-end solution. It's not exactly the easiest thing to feel comfortable that you understand how to reach the consumer, but you can better believe that every brand really wants to. And also, listen, candid, we have some, almost everything we do has some sort of charitable component to it. That's really, listen, if gaming culture takes care of gaming culture. They sniff out anything that's not unauthentic. So they really like to support each other, and there's a lot of charity streams. And man, it's I'm 37 years old, and it's been really interesting to learn something new over the past couple of years and watch where this is really going to go. gaming is $172 billion business. And I'm going to botch the stat, but it's like something of the amount of hours watched on Twitch in the past year was twice everything consumed on Netflix, HBO, Showtime. It's like, it's not even close. It's not even close. And so I just feel very lucky that we have something innovative that's also able to do something really good.
Terrific. Where can people find, if they want to look up Queen's Gaming Collective, where are the best channels to find Queen's?
Yeah, we're on Twitch, Queen's GG. We're on Instagram, Queen's GG. We're on Twitter, Queen's GG. Queen's GG. It's everywhere.
Queen's GG, exactly. That's it. It makes it very easy.
Here we go. I'm gonna switch it up with you. The website is queens.gg. So how about that?
There you go. Terrific. Justin, I want to go to the Sports Geek closing 5. Do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
Yeah, man, it was a Yankees game with my father. I'll never forget it. I'm a diehard Yankees fan, so excited to see them. I know we just kicked off, I guess, today, and knock on wood, we're supposed to win again, but that's something that we share.
Terrific. And you would have been to a few sports events in your time. Do you have a favorite food memory or a go-to food at a sports event?
I'm a Green Bay Packers. Well, I guess I'm a Green Bay Packers fan and owner. I own a share of the Green Bay Packers. So
congratulations. I'm a fan. I'm not a shareholder. Congratulations.
We both share love for brats then. So I love a good brat from Green Bay.
Terrific. What's the first app you open in the morning?
Man, the first app it's my superhuman email. That's the first app I open in the morning. But the second one I use Chat Sports. I like the way it aggregates all my sports teams. The first one, I love my superhuman email. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I've people who do have superhuman email do nothing but rave about superhuman email. So it's like the CrossFit of email. I think once you're on superhuman email, you got to tell everyone about superhuman email.
There's no going back. Well, most people that have superhuman have multiple companies. I have the network advisory in Queens, and it makes it very easy to go back and forth. So yes,
terrific. Is there someone that you follow that you suggest the podcast listeners should follow, and why?
Yeah, I love the Daily Snacks podcast. It's 15 minutes. These two funny guys. It's Robinhood underwrites it, but it's 15 minutes, and it explains the main 3 things that are happening in business in a very fun and digestible way. So the Daily Snacks podcast is really cool, and it's a really for people who are really busy and don't really have much time, it really gets you what you need to know. In a quick translation. It's a growing audio podcast space. It's sort of grown out of. It's longer than the Amazon flash briefing, but it's 7 to 9 to 10 to 15, 12 minutes that it's. I just want to know these things, and it's a bit of a recap of the day. It's a growing, I guess, podcast segment. I reckon. Yeah. Well, Sean, also too on that, on the network advisory, I'm kind of breaking news here. We're going to be launching a podcast network for a new market in the coming weeks here. Pretty big announcements, joint venture of ours with one of the biggest record labels in the world. And we're really excited about it, speaking to an audience. So, just because we're on the topic of podcasting, look out for that. We'll come back and let you guys know, but really excited because the podcast space has just exploded, as we all know.
Justin, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Hopefully, when travel bans are removed, we'll be able to catch up in real life and I'm in your part of the world. But thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Learn from the Sports Geek Amplify Season 1 cohort. Timo, Vlast, Stellar Algo, Ubi Park, and Zoof. For more, go to sportsgeekamplify.com.
Thanks again to Justin from Queen's Gaming Collective. Go to queens.gg, which means good game if you have not figured that out by now. Please connect with him on LinkedIn. Please comment on the post and reach out to him to tell him that you've listened to the podcast. I really do appreciate when listeners pass on their feedback to guests of the podcast. Don't forget, Digital to Dollars is available. It can help you and your team or help you and your business. Let me know if we can help you bring in more money from what you're doing from digital. How it works, it's across 5 pillars. Know your audience, know your content, know your distribution. Those 3 set up your digital strategy. Who you're Who are you creating your digital content for? What type of content should you be creating, and what platforms you should be doing it on? That's the basis of Digital for Dollars. The final two pillars are specifically for the world of sports. Know your value. How do you come up with your rate card? How do you know what different components of digital assets that you're building and publishing are worth? And then the last piece is all the bow tying. It's about how do you develop that into a sponsor pitch? How do you integrate what you're trying to do with digital, and how do you present that to your sponsors? How do you show that you're presenting value, but also how do you drive value for them? How do you get their results using your digital assets and platforms? That's the Know Your Pitch pillar. So the Digital Dollars works whether you're a league, a team, a stadium, an athlete, coach, or a personality, or even just a business. Like I said earlier, the first three work for any business. I've been doing that a little bit recently, working with different types of businesses around their digital strategy and developing their content plan and giving them a guide to say, these are the platforms you should be tackling. Here's some of the tools that we use at Sports Geek that you can use to tackle your digital strategy and really start nailing that. So get in touch. Sean at sportsgeekhq.com is my email. As always, you can simply go to sportsgeekhq.com, hit the button, book in a time for a phone call. Or what you can do, if you're not looking for that bigger project, you can just book in for a 2-hour Pick My Brain. Or it's a session that's driven by you, the agenda is by you. It can either be a one-on-one session with some of your key staff or with your digital team to review particular content that you're doing or a project that you've got coming up or a platform that you want to tackle. So I'm really enjoying the variety of conversations I'm having in the Pick My Brain sessions. It makes it really easy. You hit the button, pick a time that suits you, swipe the old credit card and book in for a chat. So go to sportsgeekhq.com/pickmybrain. Don't forget, if you haven't checked out the Sports Geek Amplify series, please do so. Go to sportsgeekamplify.com or just scroll down on your podcast feed in the app that you're currently at and check out those 5 episodes from Season 1. We're currently in the process of pre-production for Season 2. If you're a business that wants to be featured in the Sports Geek Amplify series for Season 2, please get in touch. And lastly, you can support our efforts in the podcasting space, in the newsletter space, in the Zoom call space, by becoming a Sports Geek Patreon. Thanks to Josh Treadwell, who recently signed up as a Patreon. Really do appreciate it, Josh. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
We'd love your support on our Patreon campaign. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. Have you listened to the Sports Geek Amplify series? Go to sportsgeekamplify.com to listen.